terms of different times with classes. We greatly appreciate you being here today. We also have students who are going to be live streaming in. So if you kind of wonder how sometimes you hear that there are larger numbers than there are, a lot of our students are coming in virtually from another campus or from their work to listen today. Today is a really important event for all of us. Whether or not you're aware of it, the first Tuesday in every April is the National Day for Discussion of Sexual Assault and Sexual Assault Awareness. So even though it may seem like it's a few people in a room, you're actually part of a larger movement to bring attention to what constitutes sexual assault, to dispel the myths, and to try and empower all generations, because unfortunately there's a lot of stigmas and misunderstandings. Sexual assault is not a women's issue. It is a women's and men's issue. It is not only women who are assaulted. Women and men are assaulted, and unfortunately the numbers are on the rise instead of going down, and so it's better to know what's there. But when we started this, we call it Promise Day, and it's promise to speak up and promise to listen. Because for a long time people stayed in the shadows and hid what had happened because it was considered shameful and painful to admit that someone attacked you. It is never the victim's fault. And we have to start with that premise that we have to have control as human beings over our own behavior. And that helps us to empower others. And part of that starts through a discussion of what is sexual assault, because there's a misunderstanding even with that. And so our speaker today will help us more with that. I wanted to give you some numbers. Females are between the ages of 18 and 24. Of those, 37.4% will experience rape for the first time. And notice I said for the first time, because unfortunately individuals who are raped often become repeat victims. Females between the ages of 11 and 17, the percentage is 29.9%. So think back to your teenage years, and some of you are still teenagers, but think about that for a minute. Think about what we're saying. Someone goes to a party and someone assaults them or something happens. And the problem is these are numbers based on what's reported, which means that there are a lot that are not reported and that the numbers are probably a bit higher. For males between the ages of 2 and 10, so listen to that, 2 and 10, 27.8 males between the ages of 2 and 10 will be sexually violated at some point. These are stats that come in from the CDC, which takes its reports from doctors, which means that you had to get medical care and intervention. And so there are individuals who are suffering who do not get this care. This program started because we unfortunately have had some incidents or heard things from students in the past that let us know that they were not aware that we have resources at Wake Tech. A lot of times people think Wake Tech numbers are down. When we talk about success, that we're talking only about if you make an A, B, or C in the classroom. But if you don't know that, there are a lot of us who care well beyond that. We want you successful in life, and being successful in life is not just being successful in the classroom, but outside. And they have so many resources and opportunities that you can take advantage of to help you when something goes wrong. Today's program is actually in 2 parts. We have our main speaker, and she will be introduced in just a minute. And then tomorrow, over in Building H, and we'll give you this information again, we'll have facts and snacks. And it's a chance to come in, grab a bite to eat, and hear from some of the various people on our campus who can help you, including our campus counselor, the Wake Tech police. Believe it or not, they have a lot of desire to help. A lot of people think police just want to arrest, and they don't realize the police here want to help. They want to empower you and help you to get the care that you need. And so they want to start a conversation so that you can come to them and say, I think this happened and I need some help. They're amazingly awesome people. And so if you can come tomorrow, we'd love to see you. That's over in Building H at noon in 285. We'll put that information up later today. As a courtesy for our speaker, please silence your cell phone. You'll have some great ringtones, but no one wants to see us start dancing. The other thing I'd like to ask is if you have a minute, I bought myself a birthday present. I've always wanted to do a Snapchat filter. And so for those who said, why is that vain woman standing out in the hallway? I had to grab a student and get help because I couldn't figure out where my lens was. And so, by the way, thank you for your patience with an older woman. But you can take a Snapchat photo and you know how you scroll on the screen and there's a filter. There's one that's Promise Day 2018 and it has our sunflower logo. And so take a picture, enjoy today because the events are tragic, but there's also celebration in it. And the celebration is that there are people who care, who want to listen to you, who want to help you, who want to help you empower yourself and your friends. Please take information. We have brochures, pads, we have a note card that has all sorts of resources on it, and we really, really want to get the information out there. So if it's not for you and it's for a friend, that's just fine. We always say if we help one, it's enough, but we want to help as many as possible, and we are relying on you as students to spread the word. You know someone who's hurting. You know someone who needs the help, and so we beg of you, reach out to them, because it's not about being black, white, or purple. It's not about being male, female, whatever you identify as. It is about being a human being and reaching out to other human beings and helping them so that we build a better community together. So thank you, and Dr. Ryder is going to introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon. Thanks for coming out. So, sorry I'm going to read off the sheet because Ms. Rose Brown has so many accolades and accomplishments and I'm going to have to read them. So, I'm excited to introduce our guest speaker, Ms. Rose Brown. She's going to share her inspiring story of survival and empowerment with us, and I think some of y'all might be able to connect with her story in some way. I'm going to highlight some of her amazing accomplishments. Ms. Rose Brown has an impressive academic and research background. She has a Bachelor's of Science in Psychology and a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration from UNC Charlotte, a graduate certificate in Nonprofit Management from UNC Charlotte. She was a research assistant and a teaching assistant during her time at UNC Charlotte. She has numerous impressive honors, awards, and accolades with various organizations, including, but not limited to, Outstanding Student Leader Award, Outstanding Officer Award, Community Impact Award, Community Service Award, and Society State of Mind Award. These are just some of her awards. She has served or is serving as a member and officer of various honor societies, including President of the National Society of Collegiate Scholars, Charter member of Alpha Epsilon Delta, Charter founder and president of Collegiate Leadership and Achievement, among many others. Ms. Rose Brown founded and directs an amazing nonprofit organization called Feeding the Heart and Soul of America, and she holds various titles in the pageant world. She was awarded the impressive title of Miss Piedmont 2017 through Miss America organization, and more recently, 2018, she was awarded the distinguished title of Pure International Miss North Carolina. She uses her pageantry as a platform to grow as a leader, humanitarian, and philanthropist, and to use her voice as a survivor of domestic and sexual violence to inspire and empower others. Ms. Rose Brown devotes much of her energy and time to affecting change in her community and beyond. So obviously we're really lucky to have her with us today. These are just some of her accomplishments and efforts, so we're truly lucky to have her. So without further ado, would you please help me in welcoming Ms. Rose Brown.
How are y'all doing? Good. Thank you so much for coming today. I'm Rose Brown, as she just told you guys, and I just wanted to talk to you guys about sexual assault and share my experiences with sexual assault and hopefully start a conversation more than anything and raise awareness. I may have seen some of you guys in October when I was talking about domestic violence, so if you have came today and then back in October, thank you so much again for coming. So I'm just going to kind of start from the beginning. Because it kind of all goes together. When I was younger, from kindergarten to the time I graduated high school, I was bullied every day, severely. And in high school and middle school, it got to the point where I had trash stuffed in my mouth, and I had my hair cut, and I was pushed down flights of stairs. It was very gruesome and brutal. And when I got to college, my self-esteem was just gone. Like, just going through those experiences, you don't value yourself. You don't really see the beauty in yourself because it's pretty traumatic to be bullied, especially for that long. And when I got to college, not still seeing the beauty in myself, I accepted love in all of its forms. And so I entered into domestic violence relationships, and then also I was sexually assaulted. And one of the reasons I feel like I even got into that predicament is because I trusted the wrong people, or basically would listen to what people would tell me, even though it would not be true, just because I really just didn't value myself overall. So the first time I was sexually assaulted was in my freshman year. It was in my first semester, and it was with a guy that was just my friend. We had hung out numerous times, had talked, had text, just different things. And one day while he was in my dorm room, he sexually assaulted me. And that didn't encompass rape. He touched me without my consent. And when that happened, I was a bit confused and had a conversation with him about it, and I sought help. And then after that instance, I began to build my trust back in men again. And then in my second semester, when I was hanging out with another friend, they did the same thing. And at that point, that's when I started to see a trend, and my trust in men continued to decline. But I still had this one friend where I would trust him with just like everything. We would hang out 24/7 all the time, watch movies, listen to music, write poetry, write music, just everything. And one day after we were watching a movie, I stayed over at his house. And while I was sleeping, he sexually assaulted me. I essentially woke up and he was on top of me. I said stop, I said no, I tried to push, and then at the same time, after him not responding to that, I just froze. I didn't feel like I could move, it didn't feel like I could talk, it didn't feel like I could do anything. And after he was done, I just still felt frozen. I ended up staying, and then he did it again. Still felt froze, and then he did it again. When I finally gained some sense of self, and like, this is not okay, you need to get out, like, you don't know what's gonna happen, I couldn't actually leave because the apartment complex that I was in, you couldn't leave the apartment complex without having a key, unfortunately. I don't know if that's something that's really common all over North Carolina, but that's something specifically about that apartment complex that definitely needs to be changed. And I was only able to leave because a lot of people were going to class that morning, and I didn't want to call the police that night. I didn't want to call the police that morning. I was just trying to wrap my head around everything that had just happened. But I was able to get out because some people were leaving for class, and the apartment complex was not on campus, it was across campus. So I just tried to mentally process everything, just keep a straight face, not break down and cry, because the only thing I wanted to do was just get home and shower. When I was walking across campus, as she told you guys, I was just really involved on campus. throughout my freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year. I was just always involved in trying to hold a leadership position, just because I wanted to make a difference and I wanted to build my self-esteem and my confidence, and I knew putting myself in those roles would help me do that. But because I was in all those different positions when I was walking across campus after the fact, I saw so many people that were just like, hey, Rose, how's it going? How are you? How are things? And not really wanting to break down or show it on my face. And because I still felt a sense of confusion, I didn't obviously say, this just happened. I just acted normal. And when I finally was able to walk all the way to my room, the first thing I did was shower. And then I passed out in the shower. And then when I came to, mentally, I was still confused, didn't really want to address what had just happened. So I went to class as normal. I went to meetings as normal. I just tried to have a normal day. And because it was a person that I trusted so much, and because it was just a confusing time for me, I didn't want to call the police at first. I didn't want to report it, really. I just wanted to talk to him and see if what I felt like had happened was what he felt like had happened. And the thing that he told me was just basically, it's all in your head. That was something you wanted. And not anything like you didn't say stop, or you didn't say no, or you didn't push back, because I did do all of those things. But me having loved him so much, I tried to mentally frame my mind that, yeah, I'm just confused. It's all a big misunderstanding. Basically just not admitting it to myself that what had happened had actually happened. But because of that instance, I began to develop a lot of symptoms. And I developed post-traumatic stress disorder. So I started having nightmares at night, having flashbacks, panic attacks, anxiety attacks. I wouldn't let anyone touch me, hug me, nothing. When it even came to men, I would not want them anywhere near me. I didn't even hug my dad for at least a year, like a minute. I just didn't really want any form of anything, because I just had so many triggers. And in going to therapy and finally talking to someone about it, I realized that what he did was still rape, despite anything that he said, because at that point he was really just being manipulative, and that I needed to report it. And so I decided to go to the police after the fact, so not immediately after it happened, but after the fact, after going to therapy, after talking to someone about it and hearing them say, no, that's actually what happened, you weren't confused, and report it to the police. But because it was off campus, I reported it to Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, so this is off campus. And then when I reported it, I had doctor's notes, I had everything from like a hospital visit, I had everything. But one of their first questions was, did you do a rape kit? Obviously, that's not what I did, because the first thing I did was shower. And that really just did not help the entire case I would have had, because there's no evidence of what he actually did to me, unfortunately. There's not like videos, there's not like pictures, there's nothing. And so when I did do the police report, they did start a case and they assigned an investigator to that case. And I remember just trying to find some type of justice, because this was also a student who continued to go to the same school that I did. So I saw him all the time, along with those other students. And in calling the investigator, I called like every week, every day, at least once a day, left voicemails, what's going on, when are we going to court, what can I do to help, just basically anything. And I didn't hear back from the investigator until maybe a month after. And all he said was, we're not pursuing anything. We believe that you're just a jealous ex-girlfriend. And so at that point, I was like, okay, well, I still want to try to get something done, because if CMPD is not going to necessarily pursue a case with it, I do want to at least talk to Title IX on my campus. And I think that there's an office here as well for Title IX. Okay. But in going to Title IX, all that they could actually do, or at that time, because policies and procedures have changed, they wanted to begin a case or create a case, but they also needed him to participate in that case. So it wouldn't just be my word saying, this is what happened. All of these notes, all of these doctors, everything, but basically him also being able to defend himself and tell his side of the story, which is fair. Unfortunately, when their office contacted him, he did not respond. And when he did not respond, they essentially dropped the case. When I contacted them, and I was like, okay, well, what are we doing? When can we talk about it as a group? When does it go to this board or this board? And they're like, okay, well, he never actually came or contacted us back, so there's nothing we can do. So that was that. When I went to campus police, the only thing that they could do was do a no contact order, because again, it was actually for, because it was off campus, it still fell under CMPD's jurisdiction. But what the campus police could do while I was on campus with him was just a no contact order, which didn't change the fact that any of that had happened and he was still going to be there every single day. So more than anything, I just tried my best to cope and heal. And just move forward. And in having PTSD, I decided to see the counselors on campus like on a regular basis, but unfortunately, because of my PTSD and how traumatic that experience was, they were not able to treat me, so they referred me to their campus psychiatrist, which was very helpful. And then when I began to see a campus psychiatrist for my post-traumatic stress disorder, while still attending classes, while still pretending that everything was normal to everyone around me because no one knew, while still holding all these leadership roles in student organizations and organizing community service activities and doing everything that I did, they were able to help me begin to heal. I was actually put on antidepressants, Prozac, a couple of different things just to kind of help my depression and my anxiety throughout that entire period, because in having post-traumatic stress disorder, which a lot of people think that only military people have it, but if you come from like a domestic violent relationship, or you have a sexual assault experience, or a bad car accident, really anything traumatic can cause you to have PTSD. But they were able to basically help me. The campus psychiatrist was able to help me cope with what had happened, heal, and also point me to other resources on campus. And so in going to the campus psychiatrist, I was pointed to the Dean of Students office, and they were able to help me a lot in acting as liaison between myself and my professors. Because with having post-traumatic stress disorder, flashbacks can be random. It's not something you always expect. Like, you can be in class, you can be at your job, you can be just walking. It doesn't really matter. And at times, my episodes were so bad that I couldn't actually sit there and take an exam or go to class and not miss a guest speaker, or just basically anything of that nature. And campus psychiatrists and pointing me to the Dean of Students, they were able to help me a lot when it came to my professors. But the biggest help of all by far with that entire experience was that I was able to connect with the Office of Disability Services. And many people think of the Office of Disability Services or a disability service office as just an office that helps students that have physical handicaps, but they also help students that have handicaps or disabilities such as PTSD, ADHD, different mental illnesses that can still impact you academically. And in having my campus psychiatrist refer me to them, I was able to basically do better in school. because my grades had dropped as a result of my PTSD and that entire experience. But in being connected with them, I was able to now record lectures in class, take exams, but take exams and maybe take it a little bit longer. I was able to receive class notes from other classmates, because obviously sitting in class, if I'm there, sometimes I'm not actually there, or that was my experience. And so people were able to help me with class notes. And they were just extremely, I would say, empathetic and sympathetic and just helpful. And I feel like without that office, I definitely probably wouldn't have graduated college. As weird as that sounds, I really don't think that I would have, just because they were just so incredible, such an incredible resource. Unfortunately, due to PTSD and that entire circumstance, I did not perform well that same semester that it happened, so my grades dropped significantly. I can't even tell you. I went from like a 3.6 in one semester probably to like and I have two different GPAs. My psychology GPA went from a 3.6 to a 3.4, but my business GPA went from like a 3.4 to like a 2 point something. It was just a big drop. But with their office and just with the help of people that were just very understanding, I was able to build my GPA back up, graduate after not 4 years, but 5 years. Still able to study abroad, able to continue to heal and hold leadership positions on campus, and have a research assistantship and have a teaching assistantship, and do all of these different things because all these people were so helpful to me. But the reason I'm here today is because I wanted to share that experience, but also I also want to raise awareness, because my experience was very different than what I think some people see on the news. For instance, and just to be transparent, I feel that there's certain scenarios and certain circumstances when it comes to sexual assault and some people's experiences that are not necessarily taken seriously. For instance, if, say, a male goes to a police department and says, I was sexually assaulted by a female, sometimes the police officers don't necessarily always take that seriously, just because of, that kind of double standard. I think it's unfortunate that some people that are transgender that have been sexually assaulted, I don't believe that all of their cases were necessarily taken fairly. I think that there's people that fall into the LGBTQ community that also have experienced it, and their cases are not necessarily taken fairly. I think sometimes, even for me, I don't think that my case was maybe handled. It was not handled the way that it should have been. And I think part of that is because I do believe that if you don't fit a certain model when you think of rape, I don't think that people are all that responsive all of the time. So as an African American woman, when I shared my story, you didn't see me on the news with people behind me saying this needs to change, that needs to change, let's start a petition, let's start this, let's start that. But then I know there's other cases where you typically just see other women of other ethnicities that their case goes to the news and it goes to CNN and it goes to this channel, and you have these marches now for that one student. I do believe that I need to share my story to raise awareness for everyone, but also be a voice and help people and help empower people that don't always fit that model, still have a voice and know that their stories are important and know that their experiences matter, and just basically help empower other people. I'm still battling some of the symptoms of PTSD. It's not as severe as it was when I was younger, but it's something that I'm going to have forever. But the one thing that I still do is I go to therapy. I talk about it. Most importantly, I share my stories with others. And I just try to be a resource and point people to the right resources. Currently in my position, I work as a program assistant for a program at UNC Charlotte where we help students that where they fell off basically academically, get back on track. Some of these students sometimes have been sexually assaulted. They have had drug issues. Maybe they've had a parent pass away, different things of that nature, but sometimes there are people that have domestic violence experiences or sexual assault experiences, just like me, where their grades fall off. And being in this position right now has been very rewarding because I'm able to help people that have been through similar circumstances. And that's definitely a blessing. And now, as a member of the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence Speakers Bureau, I continue to raise awareness and share stories to other audiences to raise awareness for domestic violence and sexual assault awareness and different things of that nature. And I do want to pause for a second. And one thing I've not talked about, because I know I've talked about resources, I know I've shared my story, I know I've shared where I'm at right now. One of the things that was very important to me, and I think very important to anyone that has been sexually assaulted or knows someone that's been sexually assaulted, is just to always report it, to find a way to heal, whether that be writing poetry, writing stories, writing music, basically letting it out. And definitely just seeking help and always going to therapy, different things like that. For me, the way that I've healed is, again, just sharing my story, but I've also written a book, and I published it last year. I began to compete in pageants to raise my self-esteem and my confidence and being bullied for so long, and then getting into domestic violence relationships, and then being sexually assaulted, my self-esteem was just completely gone. But that's helped me build my self-esteem and my confidence and my public speaking skills. In addition, I've continued to seek leadership opportunities in other capacities. So, for instance, doing this conference or doing this presentation for you guys and talking to you guys about it and trying to start a conversation and answer any questions you guys may have. And more than anything, not giving up. I feel that I've forgiven those people that have hurt me in my past, and I don't let it break me, but instead basically be a platform for me to grow as a speaker, grow as a person, grow as a survivor overall, and just continue to make a difference. For instance, this fall, I will be attending the University of Pennsylvania for a Master of Science in Nonprofit Leadership program, which I'm really excited about. And then I'll be graduating in May of 2019 with my MS in Nonprofit Leadership. From there, I hope to continue to do research, and then I'm hoping to go to a PhD program, maybe at Harvard, Stanford, or Princeton, for organizational leadership or behavior or management, different things of that nature, because overall I want to continue to be a speaker. I want to continue to write books. I want to be a professor so I can help other women and other men that have maybe gone through these experiences, just not from just an educational side, but still being there for students that need help and need that support. And I, as you've also said or shared, I direct a nonprofit, and within that I coordinate birthday parties for children that are without homes. I coordinate pageants for women that are without homes, and I also coordinate college tours for men and women that are without homes. And so overall, just if I could say anything to anyone in here that is a survivor of sexual assault, it would be report it if you have not. It doesn't matter if it's 5 years, 10 years, a month, last week, an hour ago, it doesn't matter, just still report it. Seek help, try to grow, and also seek opportunities for growth, and don't let these things hinder you. And if you also have post-traumatic stress disorder, know that it does not define you, and that you can combat it and you can get help for it, and just share your stories. Most importantly, I would definitely say. Because life is short, but you should live it to the fullest, no matter what. Just don't give up. It's very important. I want to take a moment now and see if anyone has any questions for me. Possibly. You can go ahead.
I look forward to reading your book about time management.
I know.
Are you one of quadruplets?
I know. I don't know. I probably should write a book about time management, but I know that, I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm the very best at time management.
Congratulations, because you've really come a long way in life.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Are there any questions? Bless you.
was really interesting to me last time around was when you were speaking about your family and they're thinking that you might really how they're going through the situation that you went through. Really have to get your family life and everything. So if you would also on that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Definitely. Okay, so, and I didn't even hit on that. So, one of the things, it all ties back together. So one of the things that made it hard for me to even tell my family or really admit it to myself is because I come from a Christian background, and we are told to basically wait until marriage. And so when that person did what he did, he took something I could no longer give to anyone else. So that was something I wanted to wait until marriage for, and then I no longer had that opportunity. And it was definitely very hard for me to tell my parents and tell my family, just because I know that not a strict home, but a home that just empowers, I would say, that stresses the importance of waiting until marriage and going to church every Sunday and Wednesday, and just basically a very strong background. I didn't really want to tell my father because I knew he was going to be brokenhearted. I didn't really want to tell my mother because I knew that it was going to break her heart too. But when I did tell them, it did definitely strengthen my family and strengthen my relationship with my parents, and also, I would say, strengthen my relationship with God. Though that is not something, what was taken away from me is not something I can now give to my husband. I know that I'm a stronger person for it, and I know that whoever will be my husband will appreciate me more, despite that circumstance. But it definitely initiated conversations within my family about sexual assault and sexual assault awareness, and how it needs to be talked about more. You see it on the news all the time, but when it happens at home, it definitely, I feel like, wakes everyone up and is like, okay, this is a real thing. It really happens. And though I was disappointed about that one thing, I feel like I'm such a strong person now, and my relationship with my family has definitely strengthened because of that, because it happened and because we had those conversations about it.
Somebody from online is asking, how do you feel the best way to help a friend deal with this?
I would say encourage them to report it first. That's always like a number one. So encourage them to report it. If they haven't done that, I would say, or if they've already done that, then I would just say help them heal. So if they need to go to therapy or they're scared to go to therapy, go with them if you can, if you have the time. If they don't want to go to these events alone, or maybe are timid about going to these events, go with them to these events. Educate yourself on what sexual assault is, how to heal from it, different methods of coping, whatever you can do to help that person be the best person that they can be, because it shouldn't just change their life forever. Just try your best to be there and help them grow. But first and foremost, report it if you have not reported it.
How do police across the country deal with this issue across all campuses?
You guys ask some real good questions. Okay. I would say actually addressing it, not necessarily sweeping it under the rug, and taking every case seriously, no matter the person, no matter what they look like, no matter the age, no matter the ethnicity, no matter the gender, just taking every case seriously, and then holding more events. It's very disheartening that the only time people have conversations about sexual assault is during the month of April, because that's not, it's helpful for a month, but then it's not helpful for the rest of the year. So I definitely feel like police departments and campus police should definitely have more conversations, have forums, invite survivors of that university to come and talk, to come and share their story and how they cope with it. Maybe strengthen other policies. I think that it shouldn't even just be a conversation just with campus police. I feel like it should be a conversation with campus police, and then Title IX, and also the Dean of Students office, and then the Office of Disability Services, and professors in general about what's going on and how we can change this. But it also starts with education. I know that the only sexual assault workshop or basically conversation that we even had about sexual assault for me was during my freshman year, if not before my freshman year, and it was for like an hour, and that was it. Outside of that, the only other time, from my experience, that I even heard about sexual assault was during Sexual Assault Awareness Month or either Take Back the Night, which is typically just where you invite a guest speaker to come and share their story, their expertise, their knowledge, and just overall just be of help and be a resource to others. But I feel like it's going to start with conversations and just taking everyone seriously, not just what you see on the news, this person that always looks like this person somewhat, everyone, all ethnicities, all genders, all everything. Yeah. Okay. You want to?
Did the policy change after your incident on that campus with the campus police or the local police? Like, did they start to take or make things more serious?
No. Not that I'm aware of. So if they did change policies, it wasn't something that was public knowledge. It might have been something that was in the department. But that is somewhat helpful, but not completely helpful because students are not necessarily aware. So I wouldn't say that some policies have changed. I am actually sharing my story at UNC Charlotte on April 25th, and I'm hoping that if there are department officials there, Title IX, different offices there, that they actually say, okay, well, this was not okay. That shouldn't have happened to her. She shouldn't have had to see the same people over and over every other day. I hope it initiates conversation. But yeah, not to my knowledge. I will say that. And also pause. So we are still going to do like an activity after I answer your questions. So just like hang tight. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be knowledgeable. And I know you're like, sexual assault, how can that be fun? But we're just going to raise awareness and try to create an open dialogue about sexual assault. Okay, go ahead. I have not, only because I'm not aware of anyone that has any other mental illnesses in my family. I know that I have members of my family that have different physical illnesses. Well, okay, I'll take that back. Depression. I've talked to family members about depression just because that's something that I've battled a lot. And we have open conversations about that. But more than anything, I feel like as much as I talk to them about it, I hope it initiates change and they start to see someone professionally, whether that means taking medication, going to therapy regularly. More than anything, I would say that I pray. And I just try to check on them constantly. So, are you okay? How's your day going? Even if I have to ask it like 90 times, I don't care. Like, how are you? Are you sure you're okay? Giving hugs, just being there and being supportive. Because depression, it can affect everyone differently. Like, there's different levels. It's just, yeah. It's just talking. I just be there.
What is Title IX?
That's a great question. What would you like to answer?
Title IX is a protection against harassment. It's to help create a safe environment on college campuses. There's a misunderstanding. A lot of people think it is related only to sports, and that's anything, nothing could be further from the truth. So if you ever feel bullied, and I don't want to say anything yet, but if you ever feel bullied, if you ever feel harassed, if you ever feel unsafe in a classroom, Title IX protection can be put into place, and it is there for all students, not just, there's this big misunderstanding, it is not just females, not just athletes, it is anyone who feels unsafe on a college campus. So first line of defense, go to an instructor. I am telling you, we care. I know you think we don't, but we care about you beyond your test. But next, if you still feel like you're not getting the answers you need, we have an ombuds. We have very involved deans. We have a Title IX coordinator, and the Title IX coordinator will make sure that we're adhering
best response ever. Anyone else have a question? You can ask me anything in the world pertaining to school, sexual assault, anything.
So what would be the benefit before the accident happened?
It still matters because there's a statute of limitations. So even if it happened months ago, still reporting it still means that it still happened. It may make it a little bit harder as far as to prove it because unless you actually took care of everything then. Sorry, there's a lot of different pieces. So say you were sexually assaulted, you went to a hospital that same day or night and got a rape kit, and then you did not actually report it or file a case with the police until months later. The fact you still have a rape kit means that you still have maybe a stronger case than most would. So it's all going to depend on, I would say, when it happens, how responsive you are then, it would be better. But you shouldn't let it happening months ago or weeks ago stop you from reporting it because it still happened. And something can typically be done about it, especially if they're on your campus. So either through the Office of Title IX, Dean of Students, Campus Police, you can get a, I'm trying to think of the word. You can get certain things in place where you typically just don't have to necessarily see that person. So I would say ultimately still report it no matter what. But you do have a stronger case, and if you do get sexually assaulted, I would say the first thing you need to do is do a rape kit and also report it, no matter what.
So, brought up how sexually assault isn't just therapy. For the people who did that to you that didn't necessarily know you, how did you start that conversation with them about how you told them it wasn't okay, and what advice would you give to men or boys, like I have like a younger brother, starting to go into seeking a relationship with that are approached by this conversation?
So, and tell me if I'm answering your question. So you basically how to approach those conversations with those individuals that have done something. Okay, and just kind of addressing it. For me, in the past, the way that I did it is I was just open and honest. As a person, I'm very just transparent and just like, so I remember the next day, for the first person, I literally just said, I don't believe that last night was okay. And that's not something I wanted. I didn't give consent. Why did you do this? Basically trying to initiate a conversation, and then we did have a conversation where he was like, oh, well, I apologize. Didn't really know this, didn't really know that. He said, I'm going to take this more seriously because I genuinely just mistook this for this, or your action of this for this, and basically started a conversation. I did not report it the first 2 times, and I think it's just because I don't think I took it as seriously as maybe I should have at that point. But I would definitely encourage anyone the first time it happens to still report it. But if you want to have a conversation, then do that. I'm not saying that you should have a conversation with every single person, because not every single person, you know, just depending on who that is and their relationship to you. If it's a best friend of like 10 years or 5 years or however longer, you know, different things like that. But if it's a person you just met and they violated you or assaulted you in that nature, I really wouldn't say that calls for a conversation. But I would definitely report that, at least in that scenario. Does that answer your question? Okay. Go ahead.
I was curious about the Me Too movement and how that has affected or not affected, or must have, your power, your feeling of get out there and say it.
The Me Too movement has been very helpful, more than anything. I think it's, the one thing I will say, I feel like it's sad that it takes a hashtag for people to start caring about something that's been happening forever. But it definitely has, I would say, given a stronger foundation for conversation, at least for me and for other people, I'm sure. And it just opens the door for conversation. So people are more listening and I would say taking sexual assault more seriously and just sexual harassment in general. And it's a great thing. It's a great platform. It's a great initiative. I think it can go really far, especially if someone starts like an organization that's based just on what it's doing right now, which is just raising awareness, making a difference. I know that it was really only brought to attention because celebrities typically experienced it. I would hope that people start to take it seriously just at a us level, not just because, you know, that one person that was in the movie experienced this, but just like there's people in this room that have experienced that, and it needs to be taken seriously just in general, not just because, you know, someone said it. But I'm happy that someone started it because it started a conversation overall. Is there anyone else? Okay. Any questions at all? School-wise? Are you guys just ready to do this activity that's pretty fun and engaging? Yeah? Yes? Yes? Okay. All right. I will begin to set this up. If you guys can just give me 5 minutes if you want to maybe get some water or anything like that while I pull this up. Thank you so much for your attention and your patience.